They mistook anxiety for chemistry. He waited for the phone to light up, not because he needed anything, just to know where he stood. The room was quiet except for the hum of the fridge. He sat on the edge of the bed, shoes still on, coat folded beside him like he might leave at any moment. When the screen stayed dark, something in his chest leaned forward. When it finally buzzed, he didn't open it right away. He let it vibrate once more, as if timing mattered. Her message was short, a sentence that ended politely. No questions. He read it twice, then once more, slower. He searched for something between the words. A pause, a hint. Anything that suggested she was closer than she sounded. She was across town, walking home, replaying the same exchange from earlier. The way he'd gone quiet when she laughed. The way his eyes had lingered on her mouth before he looked away. She wondered if she'd said too much, or not enough, or the wrong thing at the wrong time. She adjusted her scarf even though it wasn't cold. They were good at noticing each other, too good. When they were together, the air felt thin, like a room with one window open too wide. Every movement carried weight. Every word landed somewhere precise. They laughed, but softly, as if loud joy might break something fragile. He remembered the first evening they spent alone. Not the details, those blurred, but the feeling of standing very still, like he'd stepped into a place where sound travelled farther than expected. He'd watched her hands while she spoke, the way she paused before choosing words, the way she looked up when she thought she might have said the wrong thing. She noticed his silences, how they stretched, how they felt intentional, even when they weren't. She filled them carefully, offering stories that stopped halfway, leaving space for him to step in. When he didn't, she wondered if she'd misread the invitation. They rarely touched. When they did, it was brief, a hand brushing a sleeve, a shoulder turning too close. Each time, it felt larger than it was. Each time, they both pulled back slightly, as if correcting a mistake no one had named. At night, he replayed conversations instead of sleeping. He didn't remember what she said so much as how it felt to wait for her to finish. The quiet afterward, the sense that something important had almost been said. He told himself that this alertness meant something, that the constant awareness meant they were tuned to the same frequency. She told herself the same. When she didn't hear from him, the day stretched oddly. Not empty, just angled. She went about her tasks with a carefulness she couldn't explain. She checked her phone without thinking, then pretended she hadn't meant to. When he did reach out, relief came first, followed by a small tightening. What would this message require of her? They met for coffee on a Sunday afternoon. The place was loud, but they spoke quietly anyway. He asked how she'd been. She said, "Fine," then corrected herself, then stopped. He nodded, as if he understood. He didn't ask further. She felt both seen and missed. When the check came, she reached for her wallet. Their fingers brushed. Both of them froze for half a second longer than necessary. She smiled. He smiled back, uncertain. They stepped outside and stood there, neither moving toward goodbye nor toward something else. Later, she would remember that moment more clearly than the rest of the day. the not moving, the way time had widened around them. They confused tension with closeness. The vigilance felt intimate. The constant checking in, silent, internal, felt like care. The way they adjusted themselves around each other felt like devotion. But something was always just out of reach. Not a person, a feeling, a sense of ease they couldn't quite find. He noticed that he felt calmer when she wasn't there. Not happier, just steadier. He didn't tell himself this meant anything. He only noticed it, the way one notices the weather shifting. She noticed that when he was gone for a few days, her body softened. Her thoughts slowed. When he returned, everything sharpened again. She told herself this sharpness meant importance. They never argued. There was nothing to argue about. Everything stayed polite, considered, unsaid. Eventually, the messages grew further apart. Not abruptly. Gradually, like a tide pulling back without announcement. When they did speak, the words felt thinner, as if stretched over a larger space. He wondered if he should reach out more. She wondered if she should step back. Neither did anything. One evening, she sat alone and realized she was waiting for a feeling that never arrived. Not excitement, not comfort, just permission to rest. He lay awake that same night, noticing how quiet his thoughts had become. He didn't feel relief. He didn't feel loss. He felt the absence of the constant scanning, the listening for something beneath the surface. They never named what happened between them. There was no ending to mark, just a pattern that slowly revealed itself once the movement stopped. It wasn't that nothing had been there. It was that what they felt had been made of waiting, not meeting.